Hello and welcome back to the Dental Innovator podcast. Today we're very happy to be joined by Avi, who's got a really convenient sign there that says his name. So Avi, can you take a moment out to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Avi Patel. I am a dentist in Austin, Texas. I graduated dental school at NYU in 2018 and was practicing in the Northeast for a couple years in like the New York, Connecticut region. And then about 2.5 years ago, moved down to Austin during the pandemic with my wife and our dog Simba, and have worked at quite a few offices, which we can kind of dive into later. But from that also started creating a social media presence online, posting about aligners, and created a program, YouTube channel, and all that good stuff.
And it seems that you really enjoy the creative side of it. You make some really good shorts that I've seen on Instagram, and I just feel like you've got a degree of production quality, a little degree of pride in the work that you do, and it looks like you enjoy doing it. Is that true? Would that be a fair thing to say?
Yeah, that's spot on. I look at it as kind of like my almost like a currency, and I feel like it's also like my pride and joy. I didn't realize when I first started posting on social media, like how much of a creative I actually was. I think growing up, I was always, I don't know, but like, yeah, it's not like I was just books. Like I was a pretty good student, but was also like very, into sports and whatnot. And then, never really thought of myself as being a creative, but the more that I created content and started posting and stuff, it's really, yeah, it like taps into a whole nother part of my brain. And I've found a way to kind of create stuff that's valuable, but then also presents well, which is kind of cool because in dentistry, I've worked at like 11 different practices. I'm still an associate. And I've always kind of conformed to the type of office that I worked at. So not all of them were the nicest. Honestly, a lot of them were pretty crappy and old, but I didn't let that hold me back from just practicing, because every opportunity I went into, I always try to maximize it. But a lot of the offices over time, I just felt like didn't necessarily represent me well as who I was as a clinician, who I was as a person. And this is like a recent reflection that I've had where on social media now I'm able to put out, authentically kind of who I am, how I like to present, and the things that I do care about, they tend to get a little bit more of my attention. And it's that's, something that I've been, I guess I pride myself on.
Mm. So I was going to ask you, so at the moment, one thing that I've got going on in my head is like, that I'm at my most optimal as a person when I've got like a very clear mission in mind, and that mission can change, with time. But at the moment, what would you say is like your core mission in your career or in your life at the minute?
Yeah. So I can give it to you in a sentence, but I think giving some context will help, just kind of clarify it. So, just this kind of goes back to kind of how I was when I first, I guess, like got into dentistry. My uncle was kind of like the person who inspired me, and it wasn't necessarily the type of work he was doing, but I was drawn to dentistry more so because of the type of lifestyle that I had envisioned that dentists have. So he was, working a handful of days a week. He was, very present with his family, traveling the world, and, seemed to have a very, was playing golf, like this just like great lifestyle. I looked at it as like a 16-year-old. I'm like, wow, that looks pretty good. He's got time, he's got money. And, I also saw the effect he had on patients. So I could tell he was doing, it looked fulfilling, right? And he was having an impact. So go into dental school, and then, I come out, start working. And in my first 2 years, I was in and out of 8 different offices, and all of those were for different reasons. A lot of it just wasn't good fits, but, it was a way for me to see, 8 different ways to practice dentistry, and no 2 offices were alike. And then, I kind of got to a point where I was still doing like the basics, like fillings, crowns, stuff like that. Then I started to burn out. The pandemic hits, and during the pandemic, I started to just kind of figure out, okay, like I got to figure something out because I'm not enjoying this profession at all. And then so I opted to, learn new procedures. So I learned implants, I learned about aligners, took CE courses, and then came back out ready to go. And then the two practices I was at, one of the owners actually said that doing aligners wasn't profitable. They weren't offering it at the time, but he just said, yeah, it's not profitable. Focus on root canals. And so I was like, okay, that doesn't really make sense because I don't really like doing root canals. And, I feel like aligners are profitable. But anyways, and then the other office, they weren't set up for implants. The owner wasn't interested in bringing it into the office. So that's what forced us to move. So we moved to Austin. I joined a corporate practice where, they have an iTero scanner, they have the whole implant set up, and they're like, hey, go for it, like knock yourself dead. So I went in, I started placing implants, I was doing aligners. With aligners, I had like over 50 starts in my first 6 months. And that was crazy to me because that was, a way for me to now offer a procedure that was, it pretty much doubled my income. And then it's not so hands-on as a lot of the other procedures, right? Like surgery and stuff. So I found that I had more time, more money. And then I also just felt more fulfilled. Like we're moving people's teeth, we're improving, their oral health, their confidence, their smile, all that stuff. So for this, I was like, wow, this is awesome. And then I basically went from a place of being burnt out to a place of just like thriving. And so at that point, with most people, whenever you go through a transition like that, you tend to want to share that. I just think as humans, we are always wanting to give and help. Like that's in our core, and especially dentists, because, I would say like over 95% of us, if not all of us, we got into this profession because we wanted to help people in some way. So I started just teaching other doctors that I was working with and showing them exactly, all the steps, everything to do. And, one of the docs I was working with, he was 20 years in practice, and he came, I was teaching him rather, and he started doing like 10 cases a month. And, he was like, wow, I wish I did this sooner. So then went to the corporate office, the leadership team, and I was like, hey, can we just create like a position where I can start to teach the other doctors? And, at that point, they wanted me to focus on the chair, just be productive, don't, worry about teaching other people. And then my wife told me to start a consulting company, because at that point she was like, look, you like talking about this stuff, you might as well just actually, charge for it and just start helping people on your own. So I was working with other doctors, similar story. I kind of had this curriculum that I was implementing. A doctor went from, no cases to like 25 cases in his first 2 months. So I was like, wow, okay, I think I have something. And then, fast forward and I meet a mentor of mine, Dr. Ranesh, and he was basically doing like online training for dentists. And so he shows me that model. And so, now you kind of blossom to what we have today, which is an online course that I have where I teach aligners. And so where my mission is now wrapped into all of this is kind of what drives me is wanting to have, essentially wanting to be a resource or, the number one option for dentists who are looking to get started with aligners. That's kind of how I want the program to be viewed, and even as myself, as just like someone who, dentists can go to reach out, ask questions, learn from, and actually just elevate themselves in what they do. And if you asked me a couple of years ago, would you be teaching or wanting to help? I would have probably said, why the hell would I do that? I just want to take care of myself and improve my life. But kind of going through it and helping other doctors do it, it's right now that's kind of where my passion's at. And so
that's interesting.
Yeah. A lot of the stuff that I do drives towards that.
Yeah, so it's interesting because obviously, I don't know if you know, but I'm in a similar place. So I set up a practice. It's what we call a startup or squat practice in England. And I'm teaching people how to do that basically. So I can get where you're coming from with what you're saying. So you've done it and then you want to teach other people how to do it. So that there's definitely some similarities there, man, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of get that not bird's eye view. You were in the trenches, right? So like when you're teaching other doctors, it's almost like you know where, what stones they need to step on to kind of like go down the path. I don't know, what kind of got you into wanting to teach?
Yeah, it's a similar thing. It's just extremely stressful, and actually some of the points that you made there about being an associate and working for other offices, or as we say, like practices that aren't suited to you, and then you're trying to do work that you want to do, but they're not really backing you. And sometimes you've just got talented associates that can't really flourish in that environment. And sometimes an easy way of doing it is actually setting up your own, and just saying, look, if someone can show me how to set up my own, and then I can actually put in my ethos, my ideas, and use that as a source or flow of my creativity and really flourish. But I think that there's a big problem where a lot of people will say to you that you can't do it. A lot of people will say that it's too stressful. You can't take this on. You can't do it. But then I feel like that's an unnecessary barrier, and I feel like you've navigated a very similar thing with what you said in your story as well.
Yeah, what I've found is it's other people's limiting beliefs that they want to put on you because they believe that they can't do it. So they feel inclined to let you know that you can't either. But that's rubbish.
Yeah. So in what you just said there, so you're getting a bit of burnout because you were doing work that you didn't really vibe with in dentistry. So did you have any other reflections about dentistry itself, or is it literally, I'm going to stay in dentistry, keep on doing this, but I'm going to just find an avenue that fits me better?
I think since this was like within the first 2 years, leaving wasn't an option. It hadn't crossed my mind. I was like, okay, I need to figure this out. I actually have some friends who have left dentistry completely because they burnt out so bad, and I mean now they are happy. So I think for some people who may be struggling, I think you have to give it a chance. I think if I took the CE, took these, did these courses, made a big change, right? Like we moved across the country to try a new environment. If that didn't work, I probably would have strongly considered, kind of getting out. But at that time, no, I was still determined to kind of figure it out and make it work.
It seems too early, 2 years in, doesn't it? It does. Right. Let's move on from that. Let's go to and it kind of fits in. What would you say are your defining characteristics? And, let's say the doctors that you're training, what are the things that they're going to say about you, do you think?
I think, I've found that being authentic, if we have to use words, I think authentic, I think relatable, I think optimistic, can go with those three for now. But yeah, I've found that a lot of people in dentistry, I think they try to overhype who they are, what they do. They try to present a way that, if you're naive enough, people can believe that you're different. But what I've learned is not every dentist is a cosmetic dentist. Not every dentist is a, implant surgeon specialist, all these, designations and stuff that people put out there. I think, there's a lot of us who are, and I identify with them as the common or your average dentist. And so it was hard for me to relate to a lot of those dentists kind of when I was first, at a dental school, looking on Instagram and stuff. And I was always trying to think like, oh, how can I get to be like them? How can I be like them? And these like beautiful veneer cases and stuff like that. But I'm sitting in like a Medicaid practice where there's, the patients just weren't going to do that treatment. Right. So so that's kind of why, like, it's almost like I've leaned into being more of me, and I've learned how to get comfortable with who I am. And I found that when I do that, the people who connect with me, the people who I've, been able to like meet and talk with, it's just a lot easier to relate. Right. Because, for example, like I just shared part of my story, and with you found a way to also relate to it. And then optimistic, it's just in my blood. Like, I'm just like a disgustingly positive person. Even like I'll always try to.
Where do you think that's come from, Avi?
I have no idea. I think just growing up, like, I don't know, I can't pinpoint like a specific like instance, but I just knew that life was easier growing up if I spent less time focusing on the BS and more time just like not necessarily moving on, but like just kind of, trusting that everything happens for a reason, find a positive, hang your hat on that, and then like keep going. And then the more that I've grown and the more that I've like learned from other people, like the advice is pretty similar. But yeah, it's just, I think being negative just requires a lot of energy, honestly.
I totally agree with you, mate. I think that there's got to be an awareness of who you are, and I think a lot of people, like we're both teaching courses, right? One of my first modules about mindset, and there's a reason for that. Is because if you don't have the correct workings in here, if you've not got the correct neural pathways, if your habitual thinking is negative, it doesn't matter what I teach you, you're going to fail, because you need to switch that internal narrative up. You need to not listen to the naysayers. You need to have that attitude and really shift it. Do you feel like that's something that you want to impart onto your kind of doctors as well? Is this kind of mindset shift?
The first module is literally called mindset.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's so true, man. It's like if you don't open up, it's like if you think about, information as an input and then the work you do as outputs. If you want to be able to translate any input into an output, you have to open up the gates, right? In your mind. If you don't open up your mind, it doesn't matter what's coming in. It's not going to change what's going out. So yeah, I 100% agree. Because if you don't welcome new information, and if you don't challenge yourself to think differently, why the hell would anything in your life change? You are where you are, and I believe, like I forget who said it, but like, you are where you are, or where you are in life is a culmination of all the choices that you've made, right? And so if you keep making the same choice, you keep doing the same thing, nothing's going to change. And yeah,
I agree with that. And there's the choices that are a little bit more stealthy, where it's almost like you're accepting a situation, but that's a choice as well, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of those, like you mentioned, when you worked at that office where they weren't doing the work you wanted to do, and you made that quite drastic decision to move to a different part of a different city. It's like that is you being conscious that I'm making a choice and staying here, and I'm going to choose something else.
Yep. No, I agree. Yeah. People also, they create a narrative, I think, for like the life that they think like their situation, right? It's like, oh, this is how it is. Great story here, or great example. Coming out of dental school, I was inspired by Doctor Avi. He's like, world-renowned cosmetic dentist. And at NYU, I'm like in his we're in his backyard. You hear all about him. Like, damn, like that's who I want to be. Like, that's who I want to do work like that. And in school, I was like, that's in my mind, it was made up. Like, I was like, yeah, I'm going to be the next Appa for sure. And I remember coming out the first office I looked at, and the first office I worked at, and he was just like, no, he's like, that's not how dentistry is in the real world. Like, that's just, that what he's doing is not what everyone does. Like, that's not the norm. And I was just like, I was so vulnerable in that time. Like, I just accepted it. Like, I just accepted that I could not be that type of dentist. And then now I'm in all these insurance-based practices that are just doing stuff that no one's really excited or thrilled about. And that was that stealth choice. I didn't realize that I made that choice, but yeah, early in my career, I made the choice that that's the type of dentist that I wasn't going to be. And then I focused on like what was like in my surroundings at these like generic offices.
So I just got a little insight there, because obviously we have the National Health Service, and obviously the private side is like separate. So I've got private practice fully. When I was working in the National Health Service, it was a bit of a churn, a bit of a grind, because you're just ticking boxes, doing basic basic-ish dentistry and just meeting minimum demands to earn decent money. It sounds like the insurance-based system is similar. Is that true? Is it like you're just in like the grind, basically?
So I've connected with some dentists from the UK, and what I've heard, so your guys' is NHS, is that what it's called? NHS?
Yeah.
That is similar to our Medicaid, right?
Right, okay.
But we have Medicaid, insurance, and then private fee-for-service practice, right? So you can have a private office that takes insurance and also does the fee-for-service, but if they ever take insurance, they're not, I can guarantee you, they're not just only doing that, right? It's bulk of the insurance. So the insurance is a step above NHS, but it is not the same amount of freedom as going full fee-for-service private. It's the same mindset though, right? It's like dentists will only do procedures that like insurance covers because like the patients are conditioned for that, but it's like, that's not what you're supposed to do. So yeah, it's very similar mindsets.
Okay, so I'm going to get into some other questions now. When in your life do you feel like you've shown the most courage?
I think I've shown the most courage by putting myself out there on social media. It's funny you asked this question because I actually reflected on this like maybe 2 days ago. But yeah, man, it's scary putting yourself out there on social media and just talking about, you know, especially like dental stuff. Yeah, I think that was the time in my life. And then I kind of doubled down on it where back in 2022, I had made it a thing where every day I was going to post a video. I called it my robe talk, and then it's like a morning insight, morning motivation. And I was like, you know what, every single day I'm going to post one video, and I did it. And so, yeah, I think all that took a lot of courage.
Interesting. I mean, that's an interesting one. I can vibe with that one because I'm not really a natural with social media, but I made a similar promise to myself, but just for 1 month. And it was Monday to Friday, and I was going to do a reel. I was going to do a reel every day, and I managed to do it. But you get to a point where you're like, because you know that thing 3 or 4 weeks to build a habit, and you're like, if I'd hit 4 weeks, I've probably got it. Like I'll be able to do this in the future. So that's cool. And what do you find gets the most engagement on your social media? Do you think it's your stories? Do you feel like it's the little short videos you do, like reels and stuff? Like what gets the most traction, do you think?
So I've been trying to like track it. Actually, that's a lie. I've just been focused on like making the content because I feel like if I look too much at the numbers, then that messes with my mind and I start overthinking. I think a lot of the reason why I'm able to put out content is because I'm not actively thinking on how good or bad it's going to get received. Like, I don't think I'm there yet in my journey. I'm just getting started. Like, I think I'm just still like, you know, I follow a bunch of like of these like content gurus and stuff like that in other industries. And they're just like, you need to focus on output, like put as much as you can, obviously have like a standard. But in terms of like what I've seen, so like last year I was doing like more tactical tips. And so some of these like Invisalign tactical tips was getting a lot of traction. But over time, I kind of thought about it and I was like, okay, who am I really trying to serve? Like, who is my ideal audience? And, you know, how can I help them? Like, how can I help those people the most? And what I've found is my ideal audience is not the dentists who are doing hundreds of cases and are looking for like a little edge. My audience is somebody who is not doing any aligners or who is doing just a few, but doesn't really know what the hell they're doing, which is a lot of dentists because a lot of people are just doing it. They don't really know how. So I realized if I just kind of shrink down to that and then, right. And then even in those two groups, I'm more focused on the people who aren't even doing it. Right. And so I'm trying to meet those people where they're at. And so I'll be honest, like my engagement, it's not like, you can see my videos. Like I don't get a lot of comments. I try to like do call to actions and all that. But I don't really get a lot of comments. You know, I'll get likes, I'll get some views, but yeah, not a lot of comments. And so I've tried to find ways to like spark that up. But yeah, it's tough. Stories. And I don't know what it is. I don't know part of me thinks that, okay, maybe people are afraid to reach out. Like maybe people are shy. Maybe people don't care and they still want to reach out. But, you know, so I've tried to kind of like present like, you know, legit content while still letting people know like it's still me behind the profile. You know what I mean? I don't have like a company running my page. Part of the reason why I also post is because I do want to connect with dentists. You know, and some people will reach out, but yeah, in terms of engagement, I would like for there to be more, you know, but I do get some people asking, you know, about cases or tips and stuff, but it's not as much as you would think.
It's interesting. I generally find that the posts that are not dental at all get the most engagement, and it's almost like people know what you're about because they can look at your page, right? And they've probably seen your videos and stuff before, but you become inherently more relatable to them when you're dealing with something or you're talking about something that is not dental. And I think there's just a switch up. I think it's good to switch up your content sometimes. I don't know whether you do or don't actually, because I haven't fully delved into your content, but it's something that I do every 3 reels or 2 reels. I'll do another reel that's like 2 reels that are dental related and probably one that's like personal thing I'm trying to do.
Yeah. Actually, now that you say it, yeah, when I post pictures or like reels about,
I've seen the dog, by the way, so I knew about
it. Yeah. So those are good. And then like when we go on trips, I posted a reel on my on my birthday, and that one got a lot of engagement. So yeah, you're actually right. And honestly, yeah, now that you say that, people were like projecting that for 2023, like the content that does the best is like being relatable. And it is a switch, because for all of last year, they were like, you know, niche. Yeah. So I've got actually,
I think as well, mate, you've got to, I think something you said was, I've had the same thing, but I put a term to it, is divorce from the outcome. So you're just going to do the bloody stuff that you've said you're going to do, and you're not going to look at the numbers. And it's very hard not to with Instagram in particular. It doesn't matter what social media it is, but Instagram in particular, likes and all that stuff. It's very difficult to not get into that trap of looking at numbers.
It is, because I used to be like we used to be consumers of the platform, and now we are probably like 50-50. I'd like to be less of a consumer and more of the creator, but it's just, I like Instagram. Like I like using the app, right? What helps though with this divorce from the outcome is I just started automating the posts, like on Facebook ads, or not Facebook ads, but like the Facebook, the Instagram platform. You can schedule it out. And so I feel like that'll help, because when I'm creating my content once a month, I create all the content. I basically shoot one big YouTube video, or I'll shoot 4 YouTube videos. And then from that, my editor will cut those down into short forms. And then I have, you know, multiple pieces of content. And then from that, I'll kind of schedule out and post. So, yeah, I think that will help with the, you know, divorce from the outcome. But it's just crazy. That app is so dumb sometimes.
It's annoying that we have to deal with it sometimes. Like, I've been told you need to get on Facebook, and I'm like, I can't use Facebook, man. I find it too irritating as a platform.
Oh, I got it. Yeah.
I can't do it, man. I can't do it. I just can't. Even
There's
the
too much
UI,
garbage.
Oh, because I know if I start using Facebook, it's just going to be, I'm just going to get exposed to all sorts of rubbish that I don't want to get exposed to.
Dude, the dentists on Facebook, like, I don't know if you guys have the groups over there, but like they've gone, like, there's just so many, there's like some dental like Facebook groups, and it's like, it's just nasty in there, man. It's nasty.
It is, yeah.
And it's like, why would I, like, you can find me on Instagram. Like, I'm not coming over there. Like,
I'm firmly with you on that one.
You know,
okay,
it's like,
here's another one, right? You just mentioned like the kind of, it's almost like an imposter syndrome when you're starting to interact on social media, or it's like a lack of confidence. But there is a little bit for me when I'm doing it. There's a little bit of imposter syndrome. It's like people going to relate to this, or people going to actually find this interesting.
Yeah.
How did you navigate that? Did you just say, right, I'm going to do it, I'm just going to stick to it, or was it a challenge?
Journal in the morning. You gotta, dude, it's like, I'm not gonna sit here and lie. Like, so last year I was pretty much, it was part of my whole like self-growth journey, like journaling and whatnot, but like, it's a process, man. Like, it's a muscle that you have to build, but I think to get over it, it was like, it's not like I would leave the app, but like I would post. I'm trying to think exactly how it was because I've kind of blocked it out, honestly. It would be, I would post and be like, you know what? I took the time to make this. I feel like this will be valuable. And I post. And if you go back to that rule, and it's like kind of cliche, but everyone's like, oh, like if you post to help one person, like that post is considered successful. And it does help. But I think what was actually really nice was whenever I would have these thoughts of doubt or imposter syndrome or like, oh, no one's going to give a shit about this. Like, or why am I even posting? Why am I wasting time posting? Dude, like a day later, somebody would message me and they'd be like, wow, this post was so helpful. Really appreciate it. And I'm like, damn, okay, I guess I'll keep posting. But that's how it was. But it's like, it's crickets, man. Like it is, even to this day, like sometimes like I'll put a post out where I'm like, yo, this is gonna be dope. And nope. Like this new batch of reels that you're gonna see like this month, like I'm excited. But like the reach on them, trash. So it's just kind of like, okay. But at this point, I think I've graduated from it mentally where I'm like, it's fine. It's like you said, I've posted enough to establish to my current audience to where they know what I'm about. There's enough of what's it called? Kind of solidified myself as to like who I am, what my brand is. So it's like if you drop on the page, you know what you're gonna get. But I don't know, man. Like I still care.
Hey mate, they know us better than we know ourselves. These social media companies, so we all care. We all care. Yeah, so I was gonna ask you something else as well. Like, you know, we mentioned defining characteristics. How important is discipline? Because a lot of people don't realize this. If you don't go into the social media thing as much, and there'll be a lot of people who listen to this who probably aren't as into the social media as much. But I've got a friend who he's on Instagram and he's posting and he's doing stories like every single day. Like he's just consistent. He's not got anybody else doing it. He's just doing it himself. And I can see the consistency, right? And his is focused at patience. So he's built that up over time and he's generating quite a lot of patience from that Instagram because he's very focused on that's what this page is about. How important is discipline?
Yeah, discipline and I think the word that is consistency. Consistency is key to anything, but mainly social media. If you like boil it down to that, having the discipline to post, having the discipline to post on the days when you don't feel like it, to post on the days when you don't, think you have anything good to offer, like that is building that muscle to be able to have like a content machine and to actually get the benefits of social media. Like social media weeds people out, right? It's like the human experience. It's just like, how badly do you want it? How badly do you want to be able to, you know what I mean? To have that presence. And you see it all the time. You see it all the time. And I wish I could talk to more dentists about it. It's like, you have to get on the platform when you start posting and have a goal. What is the point of your page, right? And like you should, as the earlier you can define the purpose, the easier it's going to be for everything else to flow from that, right? If you don't have a purpose and you're like, oh, I just want to post to get famous, or I just want to post to like have a, or whatever. It's just like, that's not a reason. And like, that's not how it's about to be, right? You have to be very clear. So what bothers me is the dentists who are, you have to be authentic. That I think is the key. And that's like the magic word, because I don't know, man, I see a lot of dentists posting on social media, and it's just like, how many times you can talk about brushing your teeth and flossing, putting toothpaste in the floss? Like there's some people who are really good at it. And I know I'm firing shots and I may or may not get heat for this, but it's like, I'm not saying don't educate patients on oral health, but do it in a way that's authentic to you. Put your flavor on the education. Get creative on how to deliver the message. Anybody can put a white coat on and get in front of a camera and tell people to floss twice or floss once and brush twice. Anybody can do that. Anybody can tell you to scrape your tongue. Do it in a way that's like unique to your brand. And I think we engaged in like something about branding on somebody else's post. I think it was you or somebody else, but dentists have to start to lean into their brand and their identity. And that goes back to what we were saying about having the self-awareness of who are you? Who are you as a person? Who are you as a practitioner? A lot of dentists just don't answer that question. So that's why you just have, generic run-of-the-mill stuff. And it's like, I'm all for supporting dentists being creators, because I think being a social media creator, content creator, all that stuff, like it's taken over every industry, right? And it's here in dentistry. But my like ask is like, get creative with it. Don't just post the basic stuff. Like that's my ask, because I think it's just more fun.
What I find as well is when you're looking at social media, a lot of people don't want to post because they're worried, because a lot of dentists are putting their best foot forward, only the best cases, only the perfect photography, sometimes edited photography, right? And I think some people find that really intimidating in terms of putting up dental cases. How have you navigated that? Do you bother putting dental cases up as much, or do you tend to go, because people fall in different camps on this?
So I've tried to post some cases. I don't know. I mean, people have told me like, in passing, like you mentioned, like, oh, like, put some cases, but that's not like the focus of my page. My page is not a brag book of the cases I've done. I'm not trying to attract me personally. I'm not trying to attract patients. I'm trying to attract dentists. So yeah, sure, if I post some before and afters, that may help, but I don't know. I'm comfortable talking. I find those videos more engaging. I'm not trying to have like a case study page. I also think I personally think that's more work, just because I'm not like, I don't have, which is funny, like talking in front of a camera versus just like posting a picture. Like, I don't know, but I like it. And it just, to me, that's not authentic. Like, it's just, I'm more hung on, like, cause the stuff that interests me is a lot of this mindset stuff, a lot of motivation, a lot of inspiration, like all that stuff, like helping people like work through stuff. Me posting a before and after picture of like a patient with their, relapse case straightened out, like, I don't know. It doesn't blow me away. And I feel like there's enough of that content out there. But to your point, when you post, like, my thing, don't think twice. Post the case. If you screwed up, you screwed up, right? Because like, this goes back to what we said, being authentic and being relatable. And I'm telling you, the more real you are, the faster you're going to grow. The faster you're going to grow. Like some of the times where like I share like some personal stuff on my stories from here and there, like just like things that I'm going through, like, and I'm not posting that to get like sympathy or whatever. I'm just posting it's like, yo, like this is what I'm going through. Like this is what I'm struggling with. And like, that's the stuff that people are drawn to. As a dentist, you posting like a whatever, B-, C+ case, shit, you can even post like a straight up something that you just botched. People are going to be more attracted to that because it's going to be like, yo, like what happened? What went wrong? What would you do better next time? Like dentistry is not a perfect profession. Like I was just talking about this with a friend the other day. It's like before loops, how the hell were these guys seeing anything? Dude, like I bought loops probably like the second week of dental school just because I was like, I can't see a damn thing. Like this guy's talking to me about dropping like a parallel box or like divergent, convergent. I'm like, how the hell do you even know if it's convergent or not? And it's just like, I'm just like, and I'm like looking at this thing, like staring at it. And it's just like, and then now it's just like, how the hell did these guys? So it's like dentistry is like not like by any means. And we all strive for perfection and you want it to always be the best. But it's like, reality is it's not like, it's not, and again, you can strive to do your best, but know that it may not be perfect and you need to be okay with it. Right. And that's something that I even teach my docs with, that are in the program where I'm like, we were trained for ortho to be this just like extremely like straight, perfect thing. Like, yeah, ideally that's awesome. But realistically, if you're asking a patient to wear plastic in their mouths for 22 hours a day, how long do you think someone's actually going to do that? right? Like maybe a year, maybe after that, they're not going to be compliant. Like, dude, they want to eat, they want to drink, they want to like not have like they just don't want plastic in their mouth. Like that's just how humans are, right? So there's like you got to get real with it, and you got to try to make the most improvement in the allotted time frame that you can to get them from a place that's not good to a place that's better, right? And then learn to be okay with it. And this is all like just part of it, where just as dentists, like whether you're doing a case or you're posting on Instagram, like it doesn't need to be perfect.
But that goes back to the mindset as well. It's perfection's paralysis. Like, and if you're too harsh on yourself, you will get burnt and you'll stop actually trying.
Yeah.
And that's something that's really important. Another thing that you touched on, which when I post implant cases, for example, in my story, usually, like I lose followers. So I'm like, what
do you mean?
No, it's literally because I don't know. People don't really want it. I've established what I do. Gotcha. But if I post any implants, it's kind of like I literally lose followers. So like, I'm gonna stop.
Oh, like you've seen it? Like you've seen it happen? Oh, damn. That's funny.
Almost in real time. That was.
Damn, well, dude, that's great. That's great stats right there. No more implant cases on the story. I can't remember what kind of. There's definitely some content that I've done where it'll result in like. Yes, it was honestly the rope. Like for a while, I was debating going back and forth on like cutting out the rope talks. But I don't know, man. Like, there's some people that like whenever I bring it up or think about it, like there's some people that are like, oh, like needed this, but those things get like 5 likes, 200 views, maybe. But I don't know. It's just good. I feel like it's just good to put out there. And I don't really think the algorithm would optimize my stuff anyways if it wasn't there. But that's just, that's my way of being like authentic every day with it. But that's funny that you've seen a direct drop off.
Here's another question that dentists are going to probably get is, do you personally find dentistry stressful?
Do I find dentistry stressful? 100%. It is, dude, crazy. Mental, physical, emotional, everything, right? Like, I don't know how many other professions have it to where you walk in and your client or patient or whoever you're, working on, they lead off by saying, by the way, I hate your profession. Like, I hate you. It's like, I hate dentists, by the way. Oh, cool. I have no idea who you are, but thanks for, instilling some confidence in this relationship. Like, dude, it's tough. And I think like, having, this goes back to also just what I found like with the whole morning routine is when I was in the office, when I came to Austin and it was busier, I had a lot more cases going on. I had a lot to juggle. I was feeling overwhelmed. And so that's where I was like, okay, I need more time. And the most like, people are like, oh, I don't have time. It's like, you do. Because like, if you're not waking up at 5 a.m., you have time. Like you can get up earlier. That's what I found. Because when you get up earlier, you have time just to yourself because most other people are not awake, right? And you can use that time however you want to prep for your day, to stretch, meditate, journal, respond, like just plan your cases out, whatever it is. And so like, that's what I started to do. And I found that ever since I started doing it, the stress was still there, but it didn't impact me as much. Just felt a little bit more in control.
Interesting. So that's a real staple for you then, the morning routine, and that helps you manage. Yeah.
Oh,
what do you use?
Like
Are there any techniques you use during the day to help you manage the stress?
I have techniques that I can recommend, but I don't necessarily like always use them. I think sometimes what's good though is to like get out and go for a walk, 5 minute, 10 minute. People are like, oh, I can't step away. It's like, well, that's like reevaluate your schedule a little bit. Like you should, right? Like you should have like a couple, like you should be able to like do that. So I like sometimes just like walking in the middle of the day or during the lunch hour if I can.
Yeah, and on that one, I never stay at the practice for lunch.
You got to get out.
I always get out. Always.
Yeah.
And to the point where it used to be a running joke back when I was in my training year after university had finished, after dental school. They could literally see me outside in my car, like eating my lunch from the staff room. I'm like, why do you do that? I'm like, I do not want to be in the building. Like at lunchtime, I need to be out. I've always done that. I don't know why. It's not because I'm antisocial. I'm not antisocial, Avi. It's not.
Yeah. It's not that. It's not that. No, that's a good thing to do. Honestly, even just like breath work. Like I know this might be deeper. I don't know how your audience is when it comes. It sounds like, I mean, you're definitely somebody that has done a lot of like growth and whatnot and mindset stuff. But dude, even just doing some basic like breath work, like going to your car, leaving, whatever, even if you're in the office, if you have to shut the door, like close your eyes and then just like focus on your breath. Like 5 minutes of just being still can actually seep into the rest of your day. So those are two things. I think another thing also is maybe just don't like scroll on Instagram, like, cause you're going from like a stimulating environment to then grabbing your phone and now you're seeing all this stuff and it's like your mind is still moving. You're not actually like, just disconnecting. But yeah.
There's some good tips there. I mean, Huberman has a very good one with breathing in as deeply as you can through your nose and then inhaling some more. And he says it triggers your parasympathetic nervous system and really starts to de-stress you. So
I just started following him a couple weeks
amazing,
ago.
Man.
Yeah.
And he talks about the dopamine as well that you're talking with the Instagram and scrolling through your phone. I actually did this post a week ago. No phone Sundays, so it was a challenge to put my phone away for 24 hours. And like people think it's going to be easy. Like some people say to me, "That's going to be easy." I'm like, "No, it's not easy at all, mate."
Dude, I have done that in baby step. Like I've tried no phone after work. Like when I come back home from the office, I've tried it, and it actually, dude, it helps. It's hard as shit, but it helps because it's like you pick up your phone, all of a sudden I'm like transported. I'm away from my wife, I'm away from my dog, and I'm like on social, and it's like not where I actually want to be. I want to be home. I want to be present with my family, and like starting small, I would say, dude, going a whole day would be nuts. And I'm not saying I can't do it, but I'm just thinking about how hard it is. Cause like, even when I do this no phone after work thing, it's like almost if I see the phone, it's like, I'm like, oh, I want to check it. Like I just want to look at it.
No, it was weird because my brother was around and I was telling him about what happened. So I literally stopped at midnight on Saturday and I was still awake when I said it's going to be midnight to midnight. So, and then what happened was my mind started coming up with all these things and it was so weird. It wasn't social media. It was Google searches. It's like normally like, oh, I would just come up with this idea and I'd search this thing on my phone. Right? And then my mind was just going a bit mental for like 10 minutes. Like, what's going on? Like, you're not letting me.
You're not getting this stuff out. Wait, so what did you do? How was that day? Like, how was the day?
You know what? When I woke up and stuff, I went to my friend's farm that day, and which I do pretty much every Sunday. And you know what? It was actually really refreshing, and I did feel a lot lighter. And I think one thing you find is that you do realize how addicted you are to the thing, and being able to be separate from it for a period of time that you've told yourself you're going to be separate from it. That helps you in a self-esteem kind of way and confidence. You can do it. Yeah, you can do it. Yeah, I am going to make it a weekly thing. I just didn't do it this week, so I didn't post about it.
It's all good. So there's a rule, though. I forget what the name of it, but it's just like as long as you don't miss 2 in a row, you're good. So
no, yeah, for sure.
So do it this week.
I'm definitely doing it this week.
I kind of want to get in on this challenge.
Well, I nominate people, so I'm going to nominate you, Avi. I'll nominate you for this week.
All right, nominate me, and I will do it. I will do it.
All right, man. We're getting towards the end now because I know you're limited on time. But it's called the Dental Innovator podcast. But there's one little thing I want to talk about first: is what's your perfect week? What's your perfect day look like as a dentist? Now, some people I'm kind of talking about here because it's very broad. I'm kind of talking about number of days working clinically.
Oh, 0. No, I think so. I've actually gone through the spectrum. I used to work 6, and then I was 5, 4, and now I'm at 2. And for right now, 2 is good because I go in on Monday. It's Monday, right? Monday in dentistry. There's always something to do. And then it's almost like, right, I kind of come home and I'm not like burnt out from one day of work. I'm kind of like, all right, I feel alive. Like I feel stuff, because that's what dentistry does. It makes you feel a bunch of stuff. And then I go into the office the next day and it's like my Friday. And so it's like, oh, wow, I just got to get through this day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I love it. I love 2 days. Obviously, the rest of the week, I'm focusing on the online business, creating content, supporting the doctors in the program and stuff. But 2 is good. I think, 2 is good. What about you? What do you think?
I'm currently at a 3.
Okay.
So I agree with you, man. I agree with you. And the type of work that we do, I do a lot of like advanced implant work. It's stressful. So people look at like the gross revenue and stuff going up, but when that happens and the patient's paying you 15 grand or 30,000, like that's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, you got to deliver. You got to deliver. You got to plan and execute and follow up. It's a lot.
It's a lot, but and if something goes wrong, it's an expensive thing to fix. You know what I mean? So it's like it's one of those where it's you get yourself, you box myself in because I'm bored of normal dentistry, so I need to do more advanced dentistry. But then normal advanced dentistry is really quite stressful as well. So it's like I box myself in there, mate. And the last thing is basically there's a lot of innovations coming down the pipe. It's called the Dental Innovator podcast. What kind of are the biggest innovations in dentistry that you see coming in the next 5 to 10 years? And how do you think it's going to impact the dental world?
I mean, I'm a little biased, but aligners. I think aligners are making a huge. It's the fastest growing procedure right now in dentistry, and with Invisalign's patent that ran out a couple years ago, all these other brands and companies are starting to try to take market share, which I think is phenomenal for the field, because people are going to innovate, people are going to get creative, people are going to solve problems. Like you have some brands out there that are starting to do the whole thing of like remote monitoring, right? Monitoring, but still you're coming into the office for your treatment. It's like Smile Direct Club and those things, like, yeah, overall not good, but like they pointed out a lot of things that, could be improved upon. Right. And so I'm excited. I'm excited for that. I'm excited for how AI is going to play into it. We could probably do a whole podcast on AI, because I think it's awesome. I think it solves for a lot of issues that dentists go through, just from running the practice to even executing to marketing to all that. But I think just aligners, and I'm excited. I'm excited to kind of see all the different features and workflows and stuff like that come from it.
And is the program you run suitable for like UK dentists as well? Does it cross over?
Yeah. So I don't teach one specific brand. I just teach clear aligner therapy. Right. And we actually have some UK docs, a couple UK docs, and I think like one doctor from Scotland. Cool. So yeah, it's all online. But yeah, definitely. Wicked. Yeah.
And how do they find you?
Instagram, easiest way. It's Dr.Avi, or the website that I have is clearalineradvisor.co, and all the information's on there. I even have like a free masterclass for anybody that's just starting out that wants to learn. So I think that's a good place to go.
Well, make sure everyone you check it out if you're interested in clear aligners. I want to thank you, Avi, so much for your time. Really appreciate it. It's been fun. We might have to do this again, man, because I don't think we really got into it as deeply as we.
Yeah, man. There's a lot to talk about. I'm excited. I'm definitely. I definitely will happily come back. We can talk. We can talk a lot more shop.
Yeah, we're gonna need to do it, man. Well, thank you.
Thanks for listening. Please leave a positive review and share the podcast to your circle. If you'd like to touch base with Dr. Harry Gill or inquire about mentoring, email the Dental Innovator Podcast at gmail.com.